Welcome back to Coin Lover and Treasure Hunter. Today, we're dusting off 3 humble Australian 50-cent coins that have quietly transformed into miniature treasure vaults. The 1970 and 1971 and 1974 pieces might look ordinary at first glance, but each carries a story and sometimes a value that catches people by surprise. If you've got an old coin jar, this might be the moment it finally earns its keep. Let's get started. The 1970 50-cent coin holds a special place because it was struck to commemorate the bicentenary of Captain Cook's landing, and unlike the standard coat of arms design that most people associate with the denomination, the 1970 issue displays a stylized portrait of Cook surrounded by flowing linear patterns that represent journey, discovery and expansion, and these artistic elements were meant to evoke movement and historical reflection, which is why collectors continue to value this year so strongly. Although many Australian decimal coins feature mint marks from various facilities, the 1970 50-cent coin was struck at the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra and carried no mint mark at all, and this absence can sometimes cause confusion for beginners who wonder whether a missing mark implies rarity. Yet for this issue, the lack of a mark is completely normal, because all circulating coins of that year were produced in the same place and followed the same design standard. In terms of mintage, the 1970 commemorative issue was produced in high numbers, reaching several million pieces, which means the coin is not exceptionally rare in circulated conditions, and this abundant supply is the reason that most examples found in fine grade have modest market values, yet collectors still pursue them because the design stands apart from other years and represents an early chapter in Australia's commemorative coin program. When evaluating a fine condition coin, you are looking at a piece that shows noticeable wear but still retains major design elements, with Cook's profile and the surrounding patterns clearly visible though flattened in many sections, and the surfaces of a fine grade coin may appear dull with some small marks or contact scratches, yet the overall shape and relief remain strong enough to please collectors who enjoy circulated history rather than pristine presentation. The value of a 1970 50-cent coin without mint mark in fine condition usually sits at a level accessible to most collectors, and dealers commonly place these pieces within affordable price ranges because supply exceeds demand in lower grades and the market remains consistent year after year, with only small shifts due to general interest in Australian decimal coinage and the ebb and flow of online sales activity. For a script intended to span 40 minutes, you can spend generous time discussing the design symbolism, the historical moment of the bicentenary, and how Australia approached commemorative currency during the early years of decimalisation, and this context helps viewers appreciate that each coin is not simply metal but an artifact shaped by cultural narrative, economic decision-making and artistic exploration that reflects the environment of its time. A deep exploration also benefits from showing comparisons with other years, including the round, silver-coloured 50-cent coins of 1966 and subsequent commemorative issues that altered or expanded the meaning of the denomination, and by presenting these comparisons, viewers can follow the evolution from simple national emblem to commemorative storytelling, which makes the 1970 coin a pivotal stepping stone in the broader timeline of Australian coin history. You might also guide viewers through market behaviour by explaining how condition, scarcity, metal composition and collector interest combine to form value, and why a coin in fine grade remains sought after despite not being rare, and you can emphasise how the journey of a circulated coin echoes its historical purpose, travelling through hands, pockets and transactions across the country, building a quiet biography of use. As you conclude the script, you can encourage viewers to examine their own collections or check their change for this memorable piece, reminding them that even common coins offer stories worth exploring, and the 1970 50-cent coin without a mint mark remains one of the easiest entry points into the world of Australian numismatics, allowing new collectors to access a meaningful design that captures A moment of national reflection and artistic character without needing rare grade or high market value. Next up, the 50-cent coin in Australia was originally introduced in 1966 as a round silver coin, but quickly the silver price rose, making the coin worth more as metal than as currency. So the round silver coin design was abandoned, and in 1969 the Mint introduced a new design, a large dodecagonal copper-nickel coin with a coat of arms on the reverse and the effigy of the monarch on the obverse. The 1971 coin is of that copper-nickel 12-sided format, making it part of the decimal coinage system, and for many collectors it represents the early copper-nickel era of Australian decimal currency. The technical specifications of the 1971 coin define what it is. The coin is catalogued as KM68. It has a composition of copper and nickel, a weight of about 15.55 grams and a diameter of roughly 31.65 millimeters. Across flats it keeps the distinctive 12-sided shape, which helps to distinguish it from other coins. The obverse shows the portrait of the monarch at the time, and the reverse carries the Australian coat of arms supported by the kangaroo and emu with the numeral 50 and the mark SD designer initials below the coat of arms. When we talk about a 1971 coin without a mint mark in fine condition plain circulated example, we have to be realistic about value. Most circulated 1971 50-cent coins, regardless of mint mark or none, if in average circulated condition, tend to trade at or just above face value or a little more, depending on demand. Some online sources list modest values for worn or typical circulated examples, meaning they are generally common and not especially rare, but that does not mean all 1971 coins are equal. Some coins from 1971, when preserved in much better condition or uncirculated state, or with exceptional strike quality or even rare minting varieties, can command significantly higher prices. For instance, uncirculated or gem condition, certified by reputable grading services, appear at much higher price ranges on auction sites or marketplaces rather than basic circulated coins. Another factor that can make certain 1971 50-cent coins more interesting to collectors is minting anomalies or error varieties. Some coins may exhibit planchette flaws, clipped planchette, or other minting oddities, and these errors can make a coin far more desirable than a standard issue in the community of coin enthusiasts. Such error coins or unusual strike variations often attract special attention and sometimes fetch higher sums than ordinary examples. When you examine a 1971 coin closely as a collector or potential buyer, you should pay careful attention to strike quality, the sharpness of details, the presence or absence of wear on high points of the design, the clarity of the coat of arms, the edges and the coin flat surfaces. Also check for any die cracks, doubling, or other anomalies that might make the coin more than just a regular circulation piece, because condition plays a major role in valuation. To coins of the same date can differ widely in collector price depending on their preservation and state. For a plain circulated 1971 50-cent coin without any mint mark in what you call fine condition, the market tends to view it as quite common. So even though the coin is decently old and connects to a historical period of Australian decimal currency, it is not automatically rare or highly valuable. For that reason, many such coins regularly appear on market listings at modest prices and often are acquired by collectors for their historical interest rather than for high monetary value. On the other hand, if you have a 1971 coin that has been well preserved, maybe never circulated or carefully stored, or perhaps graded by a third-party grading house, or showing an error or unusual variant, then that coin could be something significantly more than pocket change. Many collectors and even dealers look out for uncirculated gems or rare varieties because over time, as coins disappear from circulation, the scarcity and demand may increase, which could boost the coin's value relative to the common examples. In summary, the 1971 Australia 50-cent coin without mint mark in fine or circulated condition is generally of modest value, mainly of interest for its history and for being part of the early copper-nickel decimal coinage era, but its full Potential lies in condition, rarity, and any unusual minting features. If you believe you have one in unusually good condition or suspect any anomalies, it may be worth having it examined or graded by a trusted numismatic expert. That way you could discover that what seems like an ordinary coin might actually be much more valuable. Next up, the Australia 50-cent coin of 1974 belongs to the post-decimalisation period, when the nation had recently traded its earlier system for a modern decimal structure, and this coin emerged as part of the still young identity of the currency, and like many coins of the era, it carries no mint mark because the Royal Australian Mint often produced circulation coins without special marks during this stretch, and each example carries the distinctive 12-sided design chosen to help the public recognise the denomination by shape alone, a subtle act of both utility and personality in the pocket. The obverse features the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, sculpted during the era when her youthful profile was still used as the standard face of stability, while the reverse displays the Australian coat of arms, crowned with the kangaroo and emu, guardians of the national shield, and this pairing of portrait and emblem reflects a melding of inherited tradition and local identity stirred together in an alloy of copper and nickel that gives the coin its silver-toned resilience and unmistakable heft in the hand. Collectors today often approach this coin with quiet curiosity because the 1974 issue is not exceptionally rare, but it holds a comfortable position in the middle zones of desirability, and within the fine grade the coin shows moderate wear across the high points of the shield, the animals, and the portrait, but the details remain visible enough to hold character and tell its story. And in this condition, the value typically ranges from a modest collectible price up to a small premium when a buyer seeks a specific year to complete a run of coins from the decade. Even though the monetary worth is usually not high, the coin holds the kind of historical worth that deepens as time slowly layers itself over everyday objects, and collectors who pursue a full series of Australian 50-cent coins know that these pieces form a timeline in metal, capturing political shifts, artistic changes, minting technology variations, and national moods across the decades, and each year becomes a stepping stone toward a more complete narrative of Australian numismatics. When evaluating a 1970 for 50-1 coin in fine condition, experts look for certain markers that distinguish fair wear from excessive damage, and they observe the clarity of the Commonwealth shield, the texture in the kangaroo and emu forms the integrity of the rim, the interior fields, and the portrait edges, and while fine grade accepts regular circulation, where it still requires the coin to maintain legible features and balanced surface tone, and coins with corrosion, deep scratches, or structural deformation move into lower categories that affect desirability and value. In understanding its value, it helps to consider mintage numbers, which for this year were substantial enough to ensure that the coin does not sit among the rare elite, but also not so large that it becomes invisible to collectors' interest. And as time moves forward, fewer preserved examples remain in higher grades, meaning the middle ranks, like fine, will continue to serve as the accessible gateway for new collectors, while stronger grades fetch the higher premiums sought by enthusiasts aiming to refine their sets into pristine galleries of metalwork. The educational side of collecting this coin is rich because it allows newcomers to learn grading standards, storage methods, market trends, and the subtle language of wear patterns and handling marks. And the 1970 for 50-cent piece becomes an approachable teacher that invites people to handle history directly rather than simply reading about it, and this tactile involvement gives the hobby its quiet allure, turning pocket change into a slow unfolding narrative of minting processes, national symbolism, and the art of maintaining a small time capsule in your palm. For those considering selling or purchasing an example in fine condition, the current value generally remains modest yet steady, and while it might not finance an extravagant adventure, it does contribute to the steady rhythm of the collecting market, and its price is often shaped by local demand, availability, and the buyer's sentiment toward the year or the design, and pieces that come with proper storage history, or certification, may appeal to more serious collectors seeking reliability even for common dates. As we conclude this long exploration of the Australia 50-1 coin from 1974 without mint mark in fine condition, we look back at the way this single coin can anchor 40 minutes of thoughtful reflection about history, design, culture, and value, and how a simple object of everyday exchange becomes a vessel for national identity and quiet storytelling. And by holding it, you hold not only metal but a small measure of continuity, a link connecting the present moment with decades that have already slipped into memory, reminding us that even the smallest artifacts carry entire worlds when examined with patient attention. Thanks for watching.